You know what sound that is, folks? You betcha. That's another Noon Whistle. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I'm John Anzalone. I'm going to let our two guests introduce themselves because we're handing them the steering wheel today. Who we got?
Hey, John and Chris, Mike Coolidge from the former Sports Jam crew, and along with Johnny Handel.
Yeah, and I'm a member of the Fired Sports Jam Association, FSJA. There's at least 4 members, I think. I don't know if Bill Blakely ever got fired.
You guys need to remember there'll be some fact checking at the end here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Might be up all night fact checking. Yeah.
We're really glad to be here with Chris and John on the Noon Whistle, and we're going to kick things off just like we do a normal Sports Jam show. Where John, I'm going to turn things over to you to get us started with the tweets, and some topics about some sports, and we'll get John and Chris involved, and away we go.
Yeah, the first round of the NCAA tournament starts 2 weeks from today. I don't know if any of you, either one of you or any of you guys watched the Badgers or Marquette last night, but let's talk real quickly about Wisconsin. This is Ryan Herrings from Locked On Badgers. The team misses Max Klesmit, toughness, but also the ability to get into the paint and create clean shots for others. Glad he's hopefully getting healthy. Thoughts?
I agree 100%. I think they do miss him. I watched a little bit of it last night. I've watched it before. It just seems to me there's a lot of pressure now on John Tonje to either score or make things happen, and they're bottling him up really good defensively on other teams. So I think they do miss Klesmit a lot.
I think when you go back to, I would say, yes, they miss him, and obviously for all those reasons. But when you look at the Michigan State game, they only had 5 guys who the Badgers play 30 minutes or more, and then 2 more guys play right around 15 to 18. Michigan State had 5 guys play 20, and another 4 to 5 guys play between 15 and 20 minutes. So depth is an issue.
Well, and don't forget the 25 turnovers against Michigan State either.
Yeah.
And then Kamari McGee last night in extended minutes the last 2 games hasn't played as well. So once you get some guys out of their normal rotations and you run into a little bit of that stuff. Will Wisconsin get a higher seed, or are they playing themselves into a higher seed than Marquette?
I think Marquette's struggling right now a little bit. I watched last night. They can't beat UConn. UConn's got their number. But I think Wisconsin, I think I saw projected at a 3. I don't know if they're that good to be a 3 seed. And I think Marquette I saw was a 6th. And I think that's where Marquette might find. Wisconsin, I don't think they'll be a 3, though. Maybe a 4, maybe that dreaded 5 seed. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Mikey. I think a 4 is legit for them, and then I think Marquette at a 6. I think the Big Ten and Big East tournament is going to factor in too. You know, his guys always play well in the Big Ten tournament.
What's a successful season for Wisconsin? Like what keeps the heat off of Gard?
I think a successful season would be maybe semifinals in the Big Ten tournament. They get a good seed. They advance to the Sweet 16. That would be huge for Wisconsin, I think, especially after the last couple of years where they've been bounced out right away.
What do you think the comments are about them playing fast this year?
It's been totally different. I'll give Gard a lot of credit because it's hard for people to change once they've kind of have their set way of doing things. That what he's done has been remarkable. A lot of listening and a lot of soaking up ideas from other people, and I think it's worked out really well. So I think Kirk Penny's made a big difference. I think Greg Steemsman has made a pretty big difference too. I think Marquette's just running out of gas.
I think so too.
He's got much of a bench. His sophomore class hasn't been very good. I think Wisconsin, if they could get to the Sweet 16, it would be a pretty successful year. But I think if they lose or they get a bad matchup in that first round, he's going to get criticized.
I think Marquette looked tired last night.
Yeah, he looked really tired. Agreed.
Well, it's hard to win at UConn against the greatest coach in the country, right? I mean,
and he knows it.
He announced it, so clearly it must be true.
Yeah, he definitely knows it. I think I'm a Ken Palm guy. I always have been, and I don't apologize for that. and you have to have a top like 25 ranking in both offense and defense to be a legitimate team to win the NCAA tournament. And I think based off Ken Palm's rankings, Connecticut is really low, like in the hundredths. So like that's why they're not very good. I think offensively they're still a pretty good team, but defensively not even close to where they should be. So Wisconsin, just so you know, ranks 11th offensively in the country according to his rankings and 29th defensively. That's good enough to win it. And at the beginning of the year, they said Wisconsin was a really poor defensive team. If you want to look the other way, I know Chris was mentioning Michigan State. Michigan State is 31st in offense and 5th in defense. You guys want to guess the top 2 or 3 offensive teams? I'll bet you guys can guess them.
Go ahead, Mikey.
Boy, I'm going to guess Duke being up there.
They're 2.
Auburn,
yep. They're 1.
Alabama?
Yep, they're 3.
Florida,
Missouri. Those are the top 5 teams offensively.
Who's the 5th one, John?
Missouri. Missouri's really bad defensively.
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay.
That guy's done a good job. Coach of the Year candidate. Defensive rankings, Tennessee is 1. St. John's is 2. Marquette plays at St. John's, or St. John's plays at Marquette on Saturday. I'll be there. Houston is 3. Duke is 4. And Michigan State is 5. And Michigan State is like 31st on. But if you're looking for a place to make some picks and your office pools, I would go to Ken Palm. I think he's helpful.
Do you think there's probably a good 7, maybe even 8 teams that could win this NCAA?
More than that. I think more than that. I think like if you talk, we're talking about Marquette. Marquette's like 33rd in offense, 20th in defense. St. John's is really good defensively, but offensively not very good. 71st in the country. In the Big Ten, you're looking at Michigan State and Wisconsin, Purdue, Maryland, who are all pretty good. Illinois is actually pretty good too when they get all their guys.
Today, who would it be?
What's that?
If you had a pick today, who's going to win it? Who would it be?
I don't know.
My wife's listening, so
I would go with. I'll be honest with you. I'll jump out. I'll say Duke.
Mike would always say Duke. He's a homer. But yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I would say I don't know. Auburn, I like them, but I didn't like the way they played the other day. Houston, I don't think is good enough offensively. But if you had to say, hey, pick one, I think Houston would be there. I think Florida's pretty good too. They were one of my sleeper teams. I didn't like it that they won because now everybody's going to be talking about them. But if you want another team that's got some ability on both ends, like I think Maryland is pretty underrated. I think they're pretty good. And it's wide open. I think there's a lot of teams that could win it.
I think it's going to be depends a lot on matchups. So I think too, who gets that seeds and who is them bouncing. You play someone good in the first round, second round,
and Wisconsin. And last year, Wisconsin got a really bad draw in the first round to play James Madison. But that game was over.
All right, John, where do you want to go next?
You want to talk about the Packers?
Yeah, let's go there.
So Joey Bosa just got released by the Chargers. I think pretty expensive contract. Is he a fit? 72 sacks in 107 career games. Khalil Mack just got released by the Chargers as well. 107.5 sacks in 167 games. Want either one of those guys, or you have other needs?
What about Devontae Adams? That's what I want to hear about.
I just don't think they're going to spend that much money on a number 1 receiver.
Do they need a number 1 receiver? I think they do. I think they need some guy to say, he's the alpha. Let's go.
They're not giving up top draft picks for those guys. Like I know there was a talk of DK Metcalf for Seattle, and that they were asking for a 1st and a 3rd rounder. The Packers are not giving up a 1st and 3rd rounder for him.
Well, how can you give up a 1st and 3rd round for DK Metcalf when the 49ers got a 5th round for Deebo Samuel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. I don't think Joey Bosa, if you can get him cheap, which I don't think you're going to do, just his injury history and he hasn't played in the last 3 years. I think he's played 37 games. I think it's a stretch. Khalil Mack, I think there's going to be a high demand there. I don't think they want to spend the money there and then take snaps away from somebody else. I think if you can get Devontae to come home for a pretty reasonable price without giving up draft capital, why not?
Do you think some of these teams are letting these guys go because they got such high contracts and they're maybe, like you said, getting old?
For sure. Numbers, what's Devontae Adams worth then? Is he a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick? What's he worth?
Well, I think they'll sign him. They won't trade for him. He's been released. So
Right, but I'm saying, what's that worth?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, if Deebo Samuel's a fifth,
Not a first.
I think he's a late
10 million a year, 20 million a year?
I would say 15.
What would 15 million, that get him? Would you do that?
If I could structure it where it has a low cap hit and a lot of it's on signing bonus, I would.
Only if we can bring Aaron Rodgers with him as a backup.
Oh, good Lord.
Where's he going to end up?
I don't know. That's my next question to you guys.
I think it's the Raiders.
That's what I was going to say. I've heard talk about Pittsburgh, but they don't. Pittsburgh's not going to. I mean, they got Wilson Fields there.
Giants were another team that they were talked about too. So
Does he have any gas left?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, he's better than Peyton Manning was when he played for the Broncos his last year.
But what a structure mess that the New York Jets. I mean, they dumped all three guys at two Rodgers plus Lazard plus Adams. That whole franchise is just up in arms over there. It's just crazy.
Aaron Glenn, he didn't want to deal with all of the baggage that comes with Rodgers. The McAfee show and all those things. So, should the Packers retire number 2 in honor of Mason Crosby?
No.
Should they or did they?
Should they?
No.
Most career points of all time?
I think he's got to get into the Hall in order for them to retire the number. That's kind of the.
Yeah, he won't be up on the ring. I don't think so.
That's the standard.
Most field goals made, most consecutive games played, most extra points made.
I think
most consecutive field goals made. You want me to keep going?
But I have a different question, John. You're sitting at your computer. Mm-hmm. Was there another Packer who wore a number 2?
Who was it?
I don't know. I mean, Chester Markle didn't.
I don't know.
John Stenerud?
Yeah,
No, he was double digit.
What about Bucky Scribner?
I'll give you an answer to this in just a second.
Cools, I got a question for you.
I don't think too many people have ever worn it.
Are those Wisconsin Badgers swag behind you with a flag, or is that Lake Geneva?
No, it's Wisconsin Badgers, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure.
Mike is a Badger high school coach now. Not too many.
That's right, yeah.
What are you coaching?
They let him,
freshman girls basketball.
Charlie Matthews wore number 2 in 1925 and 26.
Then retire it. Who cares?
That's a great question, Chris.
I don't know how many of those. Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know. I'd retire him. But no, remember what's his name took it this year too. Malik Willis wore it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be back with the Packers either. So
are you guys going to head up to Green Bay for the NFL draft?
I am.
Are you?
Yeah,
I'm going.
I am. I'm going to take my son.
Yeah, I think it's cool being up there, Lambeau.
Yeah, why not?
I have a WIA meeting in Stevens Point, so I can't go, but I would like to go. I think it's a generational thing for sure, once in a lifetime. I just don't know if I don't know. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's going to be
my cousin has a cabin 15 minutes east of Stevens Point.
So that's where you're going to stay?
Yeah.
What position do you think they're going to draft?
I'm going to go with wide receiver.
Nah. I want defensive backs or cornerbacks or safety or something.
I think it's going to be whoever has a raw athletic score that's really high. That's who they'll draft.
I'm going to go on record. Before the Jordan Love pick, Brent Mansky asked me who he thought he were going to pick, and I said a quarterback, and he hung up on me.
Really?
He did, yeah.
So I got a Lambeau question for you. Go ahead, John, when you're done.
No, like the Packers have already kind of said that they are going to move on past Jair Alexander.
Yeah.
Why not trade him for one of these guys that on one of these teams that wants to unload guys like Cooper Kupp or like a receiver or Metcalf or whatever? Is Metcalf
trade
Metcalf for Jair straight up? I mean, you're taking the risk on him being hurt, but like the Rams are ready to move on past him. The Rams, like all teams, need secondary help. The Green Bay gets a good receiver, number one receiver, like that makes sense. But
it makes a lot of sense.
I think, as we've said 100 times, it's what you think the Packers are going to do and who they say is all smokescreen. They're not doing that. So if they float a name out there, that's not who they're taking.
Right. That's getting somebody else to take the bait.
That's exactly right. So that if they take a guy, like I think they'll go after like a defensive tackle or something. So I don't know. That's why I think they're going to take a defensive lineman. It doesn't have to be an end.
All right, Twitter, let's keep going. You got some momentum here.
Well, do you want to switch to a different topic, or
go to a different
topic? I
topic.
want to find out how Mike's doing.
I mean, I know you just want to take a break for Pencil's picks, but I don't know if he's available. Can I just go on record while John's looking this up?
Yeah.
Mike and John, you guys have not only the voice for radio, but you got the face for podcasting.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
That's very nice, Chris. Thanks.
That's right.
You guys look pretty stoic over there too.
Yeah, that's good lighting, Mike. You got good lighting.
Yeah. I actually think you look younger now that you left the Sports Jam.
I probably do.
With a lot of stress.
Yeah. All right, John, how do you got next?
Well, we can talk a little bit about the Brewers and the expectations you guys have for them.
I like it.
Yeah, let's finish up with the Brewers.
I just don't I think the over-under on wins is like around 500. So we'll say 81 or 82 wins. Can they get there?
Oh, I think so.
I got him 92 wins.
Okay, that's crazy. Too high.
Do you think
I would give them an F for their offseason? F.
They didn't do anything.
I think that's
They
hard.
didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They're putting a lot of faith in some guys that have never done it before.
I think
their pitching is going to be fine. That's
really good.
That's always good.
Who's
I
going to
just
be?
don't think they're going to have enough hitting.
But what do you think about getting rid of Devin Williams? Now, is McGill going to be your closer?
Sure. Yep. I think so. They just signed Jose Quintana to a one-year deal. I think that's good. They're always going to try to get more and more and more pitching, so they always have a lot. The star of training camp so far has been Vinny Capra. I think he'll be your one-hit wonder here for a little bit, which is fine. He's got I think he has like one hit in his major league career so far.
Maybe, I think there's a lot of questions
so far.
There's going to be a lot of questions for the Brewers. Is Yelich going to be able to come back and play what he was before? Is Woodruff going to be able to come back? Those are a couple of things.
Where are they going to play?
What?
So you guys are all pretty optimistic, but you're not sure why.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think what Mike said is right. Like, what does Yelich look like? Is even going to be a factor?
I think their pitching is going to. I think their pitching, their defense, and their base running is going to get them over 500. I think Yelich is going to come back and be their DH, and I think you're going to get some good numbers out of him. I also think when you look at their lineup compared to last year, you're really only talking about Willy Adames. I mean, are we saying Willy Adames was worth 10 wins?
Well, I think they're gonna run a lot. Their defense will be good. They're always going to be good. Their pitching will be good. Their bullpen.
Who's going to play short?
I think it's going to be Joey Ortiz.
Oh yeah.
I think they're going to give. They're going to give those. I think he's going to give Oliver Black and Tyler Dunn a chance to play a little bit, but it sounds like Dunn is a little behind, so they were going to not have him play any third base right now. So it's Oliver Dunn's job to lose.
Okay, so we'll close out Brewers chat with this question: will the Brewers at the trade deadline be buyers or sellers? John?
I think sellers.
Cools?
I'm going to go the opposite. I think they'll be buyers. I think they'll still be in the hunt.
Buyers.
I go buyers.
Okay.
I think buyers.
I hope you're right. And at some point, the cost-cutting trades, you'd think would catch up with them, but they haven't yet.
Well, did you hear what Atanasio said publicly? Did you
No.
catch that? Atanasio said something. They asked him about payroll or whatever, and he basically referenced that one of his main jobs is to make sure that they keep costs down and that they basically have butts in seats.
Interesting.
You never
Well,
mentioned
they play in the smallest. They play in the smallest market in MLB. Their long-term local television is an absolute mess, as are a lot of those small markets.
Oh, yeah.
They are revenue sharing. That's all part of it. And you know, he paid $223 million when he bought that team. It's worth $1.6 billion. That's what bothers people.
Yeah, I agree.
So his inactivity is he's got plenty of money to spend on that team.
All right, let's move to NBA, John, and then we'll close out with that. Bucks are on a little bit of a roll, but let's circle back to the state of the NBA. It's been a conversation lately. I almost said David Stern, because I'm dating myself there. What needs to happen to increase excitement around the NBA?
Shorter games, I think.
Shorter games.
Shorter season?
Okay.
I don't think they're ever going to do that. That's why they're going to shorten the game.
I would go with this shorter season. I mean, I think they've added some things to add value to like pace of play early on with the little series. Yeah, when we wrap up with this, so I want to ask you guys about your thoughts on the All-Star game. But yeah, I don't know. This just doesn't seem like there's a lot of effort until halfway through.
Do you think the injury bug is more prevalent this year as far as the NBA? There's so many guys going down with this or that. Is that just because it's a longer season, or?
Well, I guess it's a good question. Are the injuries a workaround and kind of masking the idea of load management? These guys not playing 82 games.
Well, that's why, back to what John was saying, that's why the All-Star game is such an absolute mess. And that thing they did this year was stupid. The Kevin Hart jokes, fishing equipment. Yeah.
Did you like it, John?
They did play hard because they wanted to beat that group of Rising Stars. That game was good. Then once they beat the Rising Stars team, they were back to nobody wants to be here and do this. So
yeah.
Did you like it?
I liked it more than the other, like the original All-Star game, because I thought there was a little bit more of that, like John was saying. But I don't know. I'm less likely to watch the NBA, I guess, than any other sport.
So let me ask you this real quick. What about, I got to get you guys' thoughts on this huge trade with Dallas and the Lakers, which right now is benefiting the Lakers 100% because Anthony Davis is probably done for the season. And Luka is he's playing well right now. Does that put the Lakers now over the top? Are they going to be the odds-on favorite over OKC in that West Division? Or
it's amazing how when the NBA is struggling a little bit, how all of a sudden the cornerstone franchises like the Lakers just have somebody like completely fall right around. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think
John knows the frozen ping pong ball. John knows the frozen ping pong ball.
Exactly. I do think there were some legitimate concerns about Luka in Dallas. I think he's weight is an issue. He's a smoker, I believe. I think those are all factors and I think they thought that Davis would be the cornerstone piece. I think the genius in the whole thing is LeBron. He figures out how to get guys. Yeah. He wants to be Robin. He does not want to be Batman anymore. And with Anthony Davis, he still had to be Batman. Now he's Robin, and he's loving it. He might play for 5 more years.
I agree with you, John.
He's 40 years old.
What about your thoughts on the Bucks move Middleton for Kuzma, basically?
Didn't like it as much as some other people did, but I think Kuzma's fitting in well. I mean, they're playing better. But I think Giannis and Damian are kind of figuring it out. The Bucks knew more than everybody else that Middleton is just not going to be able to play big minutes ever again in his career. Those days are over, and I think they knew it.
I like the trade just because I think they got a little younger and they got a guy who's going to be playing every day. I think where John Horst really hit a home run was some of the other picks, the other trades. I think the Sims kid is a great pickup, athletic, big kid.
Porter too, right?
Wow, Kevin Porter Jr., he played 15, 18 minutes? He had a triple-double yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, I understand he played a pretty poor team, but, I mean, he's a little juice off the bench that they didn't have.
Kind of makes you wonder. The Clippers got rid of Porter and got Marshawn Beauchamp, and I think Marshawn was in L.A. for a week.
They cut him,
They let him go.
Really?
Two-way deal with the Knicks.
Yeah, so now he's with the Knicks. I've enjoyed, AJ Green's contributions. I know he's not playing Andre Jackson much off the bench anymore, which is fine. So we'll see. I like Jericho Sims too. He's a rim runner.
Yeah.
And a dunker. He played for Shaka at Texas.
All right. What do you think, John?
I got one more question.
All right, here we go. We got the sports.
I want to take the most or make the most of these guys. But so we talked about the NBA All-Star format. What do you think about the NFL or Pro Bowl format?
It's a joke.
They have to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Professional athletes. Well, it's weird because that NBA Cup that they do, those guys got into that. The Bucks, they got into that, but they incentivize it with a lot of money. I don't know if you can incentivize the Pro Bowl or the NBA All-Star game and get guys to play. I just don't know. I do think that there's something to be said about having lower level guys compete against those guys that would maybe bring out the best in them. The NHL figured it out with that, what they call it.
Oh, yeah.
That Four Nations Cup or whatever.
How great was that?
That was awesome.
So that's probably what the NBA will do next. But to your question, John, I'm not sure they have an answer to the NFL.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring the NFL Europe All-Stars over to play.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty lackluster. I mean, it was.
I mean, I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't even watch it.
I didn't watch it. Yeah.
Well, they stopped and went to that flag football format when that running back from Illinois, Robert Edwards, blew his knee out that one time, and that was the end of it. They weren't going to do that. So, free vacation for some of those guys is about all they did out of it.
The only All-Star game I like to watch and they play hard is baseball.
Yeah.
There's a nice carrot at the end, right? You get.
Well, there's something to play for, a little incentive too. Like, well, they still have the National League, the American League. Whoever wins it gets to host the series, the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think in MLB they it's the only show, it's the only sporting event at that time of year for those few days. I don't think the way they select, like making sure they have a guy on every team, is the right way to do it. But I think the concept of the game is good. But they could go to a format where they played, I don't know, some kind of foreign versus American team or something like that. That wouldn't be a bad format to do it either. So the NFL gets people to watch the combine and watch guys run 40-yard dashes, but they can't get people to watch the Pro Bowl.
Think about that.
Don't think they haven't thought about this, because they very much want people to start watching it. So it's not very entertaining football. They've tried to change the format a bunch of times, and there's no bragging rights. There's nothing like that. If they moved it to the middle of the season, would that work? I don't know. NHL, MLB, everybody else does it in the middle of the year.
That's true. But that might not work for football. I don't know.
All
right. Let me ask you, we're going to close. We'll close here in a little bit. What anything else, Sports Jam, you guys want to touch on before we start to wrap up? Anything, Mikey, what's swirling in your brain?
Well, real quick, you guys are experts on basketball. Is Cooper Flagg a one and done going to the pros next year? Or is it Duke, if Duke wins it, if Duke doesn't win, does he come back?
Yeah. What if they offer him like a $10 million NIL?
Well, he'll get to play with the Boozer boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe he can talk Knipple into staying. He's going pro.
Is there another kid? Yeah. There's got to be another Knipple coming, right? There's only what? How many of them?
Cager Knipple. What a great name for a basketball player. Cager
Knipple.
Cager Knipple's a freshman.
You guys, John, did you ever know anybody who had that Cager as a
Yeah.
license plate?
Yeah, the one and only. Best man in my wedding.
Who was it?
Gary Rock. Remember he used
Gary
to have
Rock.
that license plate, Mike? It said A Cager.
Did he really?
Did you know that, Cools?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike used that. Yeah, that's yeah. Gary, he's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time Badger guys. I'm sure of that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I just want to wish all the teams that are playing in March Madness the best of luck, because this is a great time of year. If anybody's gets a chance to get out to some local games over the next few weeks, I think they should do that and support as much as you can, because it's a great time of year.
Yeah, you can feel it. The madness is here.
Who we got tonight in Elkhorn, John? Who's in Elkhorn tonight playing?
Nobody.
Nobody.
You're throwing out games. I didn't know if we had one I missed.
Yeah, we are hosting some. Check wiaawi.org and come on out.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. All right, Cools. John, thanks for being here. This is a yearly tradition. We had you guys on last year.
Thank you so much. I love it.
Every March Madness, we kick off March with the FSJA.
Yep, Fired Sports Jam Association. Yep.
There you
I
go.
like it. I like it.
I gotta look for some music here to close out. We gotta find that Sports Jam music. We'll have to see if we can pull that up.
That old intro with the Bulls guy, that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Bulls guy was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, thanks for being on.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I gotta be careful who I hang around.